Brought to you by Knights of Awakening. This is the Labyrinth. It's been a little while since we did a Labyrinth show. Last one we did primarily on Facebook and then ported it over to YouTube. Today we're going to do it so that it hits both. That's why I'm doing my introduction. We had some really good response with it. And I love doing Labyrinth shows. And sometimes I don't know what to talk about because I feel like I've talked about the same thing 1,000 times over. And then I realized that I have talked about the same thing 1,000 times over, but I haven't done a show on it. Or I've answered the same question 1,000,000 times to various people, and therefore I am convinced I did a show on it, or I'm convinced I did enough on shows on it, when the reality is that sometimes I need to come back and look at some very basic techniques and go over them again. And one of my favorite techniques continues to be Shamanic Journey. It is one of the quintessential parts of what I do. In fact, I incorporate a bit of it into almost every ritual I do. I incorporate some of the tools, methods, and various skills that are used within Shamanic Journey in almost every form of magic that I do anymore. Because it is effective, it's powerful, it's functional, it is not exactly quick, but it doesn't require referencing a lot of charts that I don't necessarily hold to, or number systems that don't really make sense to me, or things that I don't believe have that much power outside of the fact that other people have used them and thought they had power. So, Shamanic Journey is one of those personal things that I use so much, and I recommend so often, that it is the third most recommended thing in my repertoire, right next to Qigong and Zazen. So, I almost always recommend to people Zazen so much that I really should contemplate having a show called Let's Do Zazen Together, where we all sit and we just sit, and you just have a video of me sitting. I don't think it would be that popular. I should also do a show called Let's Do Qigong Together. I do a form of what I call freeform Qigong. And that is where I feel where there are disturbances in my body, and I move in ways that allow the energy to flow and open it up more efficiently. A lot of people won't like that. I could do a show on that, but it's very hard to aim this much higher quality camera than the one I have on my tablets at anything other than a boxed surface on a screen. So why Shamanic Journey then? Why is it number 3? Why is it so big up there that I'm recommending some form of Shamanic Journey to people almost weekly, and recommending it above angelic summoning and demon summoning and Jinn summoning and god and goddess worship and all these various other methodologies, or calling up the high or calling down the low? Shamanic Journey is very hands-on. It uses a lot of the same imagery and energy techniques that we've already learned or worked with in other art forms. And in many ways, it may have pioneered these methods. It is old magic. It is the oldest magic I can find. And I'm old because I have a beard. And let's face it, in mysticism, we tend to like to gravitate towards things that are a bit older, a bit more verifiable. There is some reference to Shamanic Journey in just about every culture. There is some reference to it in how to perform it, available in almost every belief system, and as a result, I have to recommend it highly. That's why we were going to talk about it today. So what is Shamanic Journey then? Shamanic Journey is a form of guided meditation, self-guided, when you're the one doing the journey, in which one projects to a different plane of existence. Some people like to call it astral travel. Shamanic Journey and astral travel are, yes, the same thing. There are some differences, sort of, not really, in that astral travel tends to be very structured in what people think it is and isn't, where Shamanic Journey, since shamanism is very loose in its interpretation, is a little bit less structured. And that's saying something when you're talking about a plane of existence that is supposedly made by thought and formed by will, being the astral. So Shamanic Journey is all about projection and going to a different place. And that different place may be within or without. And we're going to talk about that, a little bit more. You have to get into a relaxed state. You have to start taking the journey method and moving your awareness to a different place. I advise people visualize the action of walking down a path or a hallway. I use that when I teach Shamanic Journey or when I am working with a student. I very heavily work with that imagery because it works. Chances are you have traveled somewhere in your life, possibly to the grocery store, maybe to a restaurant or movie theater. Odds are at some point you traveled to school or to work. In fact, traveling is something we pretty much do. So much so that even if you're missing legs or a leg or most of a torso, you've probably traveled via a wheelchair. The movement of self-propulsion is part of the beast that is human. And as such, it is an imagery that is very easy to work with in the process of doing Shamanic Journey. That's why we call it journeying, because you go somewhere. I know a lot of people like to try and fly from place to place, and I'm not going to say I've never used the concept of floating out of the body or downward into the lower realms as part of my Shamanic Journey techniques. But I will say that I find walking creates a bit of solidity, especially as you visualize and feel the ground underneath your feet as it hits the ground. You know, you feel that impact along your legs. And this is coming from a guy who has, major foot issues in his life from time to time. I still enjoy that feeling in the projection phase of the ground on the feet. In fact, it's refreshing because there really is no sense of pain as I'm doing that. So I can get that feeling of walking during the projection without the stresses of what a regular walk would do to my feet over a long distance. So using that as an opening point for projection and Shamanic Journey, I find to be a valuable addition to the technique. So what do you use Shamanic Journey for? Because you're going to want to go and look up more information than what I'm providing here. This is kind of a precursor, get you some information, get you thinking about it. What are you going to use Shamanic Journey for? Well, a lot of people can use it for altering both realms and people. And what? When you alter things in higher realms or lower realms, they tend to trickle up or down back into the base realm, the physical. So if you're looking to work magic, you may project into the higher realms, journey upward, and look for a representation of a thing you seek, and bring it back to this realm in the journey. Or look for a representation of someone or something you wish to influence, and then you would take symbolic action to influence that person or thing in accordance with your will. But Charles, that sounds an awful lot like traditional magic. I mean, you work towards altering the other realms to then influence this realm. That sounds like ceremonial high magic on some level. Yeah, all magic comes from the same place and the same core concepts. And realm transition through the concept of the journey, whether it is the journey of placing the thought upward or the journey of projecting the self upward and trickling down, it all really works in the same way. This is why I sometimes feel shamanism is the core of all magic that we do. And many people will disagree. And that's fine. It's your place to disagree. But I do feel that it is very intricate. I feel that outside of Shamanic Journey, a lot of what we've done is pull from herbalistic magics and things of that nature, which are very good and very profound and useful, that we mix the two of them in our ceremonial magics to achieve the results that we do. So what other uses are there? I mean, altering things. Well, there's the use of learning. Many people will do their Shamanic Journey to speak with guides or other forces to gain knowledge on how to do a ritual better, or how to better themselves create a ritual. I find it amazing how many people ask every day, do you know a spell for this? This could be anything. To bring back my lover, to punish my foe, to bring forth justice, to acquire wealth, to prevent poverty, to heal sickness, to destroy the world, or to save it. Do you know a spell for this? I know many spells that I use for most of those things. But for you, are you Norse? Do you work with Thor? No. If you work with angels and demons, various other things, many of these things I work with, and many times I can offer advice. But not knowing what you're polarized to, oftentimes I have to give very generalized advice. And sometimes the advice I give is, have you considered going to the other realms and asking the higher spirits that you work with for some advice on how to do this ritual? Well, no, why would I do that? Because they may know something you don't. They may know something I don't. Another use of this is gaining wisdom. Wisdom is different than knowledge. Wisdom is different than just learning a thing. Wisdom is all about being able to see how all of the parts connect and interrelate to each other, and how little things influence bigger things to become what the world is. It's insight into the function of the world, not just pure knowledge. And wisdom is knowing not just how to do something, but when to do it. A lot of times people ask, well, should I do this or should I do that? And one of the things that I do as a practicing mystic who does this for a living is things like card readings and such for people, and I'm more than glad to do it. In fact, I find it is valuable to the people I work with. But they ask then, well, is there any way I can look into this more? And invariably I recommend Shamanic Journey. Gaining spirit allies is another powerful part of Shamanic Journey. In fact, I would think almost all work with spirit allies of some form, be it familiar spirits, or working with greater demons, or greater angels, or greater gods, or lesser angels, demons, or gods, or even, those are past, would require the trance state, which is the first step to Shamanic Journey. That's Shamanic Journey outward, into the world around us, into the current realm, or upward to the higher realms, or downward to the lower realms. We'll get into that more in a moment. You can also use it for forging talismans. You go on a quest and bring back the power that you're seeking while holding a talisman in your hand. And as you re-enter your body, that energy is still there, held in the hand with the talisman. That's Shamanic Journey, to charge a talisman with a purpose. And much, much more. Anything you can do with any other form of magic, you can do with Shamanic Journey. So much so that you start to question, once you get very good at it, if any other magic is anything but Shamanic Journey done on a lesser scale. And in my opinion, it's not. I'll be really very bluntly honest that all forms of sympathetic and ceremonial magic are a form of Shamanic Journey in which you may not be fully journeying. But you're sending out your intent. You're sending out your will as a vehicle into the other realms to bring back, to do, to change all those around you. Where can you go with the Shamanic Journey to achieve this? I kind of hit on the outer realm, which I don't have listed in my little listing. I keep looking back at it, as is my habit. But there is the outer realm. That is the realm around you, but that is not you. That is a form of out-of-body projection. It has a lot of good uses in general. Affecting people or places or things. Creating defenses. Walk around your home and look at the energies and change and shift them with your will and with your knowledge. It's a very powerful action using that form of Shamanic Journey. There are the upper realms. Higher powers, things that you associate with light. Why do you put light upward? Because the sun rises in the sky regularly. So much so that we associate up with light, and we associate certain types of beings and ideas. In essence, is with light energy. Doesn't necessarily mean good. It definitely has to do with life, usually, on some level. There are the lower realms. Guess what direction you go in to get to the lower realms? Lower realms are descending in your meditation. You go downward in the Shamanic Journey. And in this, they associate with energies of death or negativity. They are a concept of darkness, partially because for those people that are buried, to the best of our knowledge, no light is reaching them as a rule. If light is reaching them, then someone has disturbed that grave. we associate darkness with death energies and negative concepts. Not necessarily bad, but certainly negative. The opposite of positive. Negative can be a good thing. Negative can be a very good thing. You have a massive amount of stock in a store that you run. You want a negative inventory at the end of a day. You want to be able to see that, you know, what you started out with is not what you have. So you want a loss in terms of inventory and thereby a gain, because all things must balance in some way. So negative has its own purpose. It's the pulling force of the universe instead of the pushing, positive. Without the pulling force, then everything just blows, as it were. You need an energy that pulls in and draws in, not just one that pushes outward. You have the inner realms, which I am well known for working with this method, where you go inward into the self, into the realm that expands the infinite within you. And this form of shamanic journey helps you deal with certain parts of who you are and gain that true power within the self. You have personal realms. That's other people's inner realms. You want to affect another person, you want to affect their personal realm or their timeline in journey, in the symbolism that is that. And the level of effectiveness will be determined partially by how strong you are and how strong they are. Isn't that how it always winds up being, though? So, this action of moving into someone else's realm, their timeline, as it were, their existence, their sphere of what makes them them, this, too, is a part of Shamanic Journey. And it's a very effective method. And the last thing I'm going to hit on, you know, we have it up in my shop. You've heard about me talk about it in previous Labyrinth episodes, is the Soul Sword. And how does this tie into the Shamanic Journey? I'm not going to teach the Soul Sword on video. I actually teach that as a private lesson with a guided meditation. But I am going to say that it is very heavily based on Shamanic Journey, working with shamanic concepts, of challenging the self to grow stronger, to grow better, and to do more, with an understanding of who we are and what we do. And in that, the Soul Sword is something you could probably learn to do on your own, and there are resources out there that I've left published if you want to search for them. But if you're going to get my guidance on it, then you have to have me help you with it. Which, I hate to say it, but I don't do that for free. My time schedule is way too compressed to constantly be teaching my own techniques for free. But I do reference, and it's easy to find the information online. If you search for the Soul Sword, you will eventually find the original writings based on the methods that I produced years ago. Is it 10 years now? It's 2017. Yeah, about 10 years now. So the Soul Sword is another form of Shamanic Journey, and it goes inward to find a part of the self that is a sword. If you're already experienced with Shamanic Journey, you may be able to do the Soul Sword already, or at least a part of the Soul Sword, a concept. You're looking into the soul, though. You can't just go into the mind. You have to aim for the soul, so you better be good at tuning in for that, or have the proper guidance to go in that direction. So that kind of hits on how Shamanic Journey ties in with the Soul Sword, because a few people have asked. This isn't just me putting up there as an advertisement. I've had people ask, what's the Soul Sword and how does it tie into Shamanic Journey? Well, there you go. That's the Soul Sword. That's how it ties into Shamanic Journey. Or at least it's a rough overview of it. Honestly, I think Shamanic Journey may be the most powerful tool in a mystic's arsenal. And I think we use it so much in so many things, it doesn't get enough press time. Partially because it's very hard to package and sell it. Partially because it's very hard to write a book on it. It's very hard to publish or instill or in some other way convince people that this is powerful magic. And yet, it is the core of almost all magical methods. In fact, I'm challenged as I do this video live without any edits or stops to think of one form, one tiny bit of magic that doesn't use the essence of what Shamanic Journey is. You may not go on a complete journey, but you're projecting your will out into the realms. Maybe someone out there will correct me and provide me some ideas on other magics that exist. But the Shamanic Journey, I think, is one of the core ones. It is very, very Norse in its own way. It's very primal in its own way. Of course, that would appeal to someone like me. And it may appeal to someone like you. So look for it. Give it a look. Look up resources. Find information. Read books. Practice. Find guided meditations. I think that's the best tip I can give anyone is do some basic guided meditations. It's a form of shamanic journey. It will help open you up to being able to do it more on your own. I want to thank you all for your time. We're able to do this because you support us in doing this by providing us feedback, by providing us likes and shares, by letting us know that we're doing a good job in this. You better us at Nights of Awakening and the Labyrinth and the Rosequartz Labyrinth. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your feedback. And as always, awaken the night within.